Okay,
Hi,
so
Ravin.
hey, hi Sanjeev. So we have just started. So today we'll be understanding about the function topic. So we'll understand what is function. Okay, okay. So understanding this way, let's assume, let's suppose, whenever you want to do any uh, whenever a developer is developing a web page, they want to use some of the code, some of the block of code at not only one places but also at the different places. If you take the example of the real world application, you will see the login button. So login button, as soon as you provide the username and password, as soon as you provide the username and password, there will be a login button, and once you click on the login button, it will generate some message. It will say logged in successfully. If you take the example of logout, it will say logged out successfully. Sometime what will happen, you will provide the different username, different password, and you try to log in again. So in that case, you will see there will be a error that will throw, and you will get the errors in that wrong, invalid username, invalid password, these kind of error. So what basically will happen is the message that you see on the page, any message, it doesn't have to be the proper message, any message that you see on the page, if that particular message or that particular piece of code is supposed to be used at other place also, then we need to use the function. For example, we have seen so far for loop, nested for loop, switch, everything. Now let's say that there is an addition program. There is a program for adding two number. So you have written the adding two number program, but in the same code, in the same page, that particular logic, that particular addition, you have to use at multiple places, more than one place, at somewhere at place two, somewhere at place three. Now what you'll do, if you don't use function, you have to write every time the same thing. Suppose if I say that there is a block here, me. Suppose if I say there is one block, and inside this block there is a plus b. Okay, this is one block, and now the same a plus b I also have to do after 15 line. After writing 15 lines, I have to do the same a plus b, a plus b, same logic I have to do. Now again after some time, when I keep writing, after a few lines again I have to do the same a plus b. Now think of this situation that you are doing the same thing here. You are repeating the same task. Whatever you have done here, same task you are doing here also. And same task we are doing at the line number 11 also. Now what basically will happen? We know inside the for loop, inside the nested while loops, inside the loops we came to know that if you are repeating if you have to perform the same action multiple times, we are using the loops concept. If you have to print hello world 5 times, then we are using for loop. If you have to if you have to print if you have to iterate through any value, like you have to do the 5 time iteration, you have to do 10 time iteration, then in that case what we are doing, we are using the loops concept. Same logic, whatever we are doing there, same way you also need to understand here that whenever you have to perform any piece of action, any block of code multiple time, if you have to use more than one time, we will use a function here. What basically will happen is there will be a function that will have this logic of addition. It will consist of the addition logic, and whenever we need, suppose if I create a function here, I'll say function, I'll say add as a function. So whenever I create add as a function, inside this function there is an action happening. The action is a plus b. What is action here? There is addition action happening. Now next time, if I have to use here, I will not say a plus b, I'll just say add. I'll call the function as add function, I'll call, and I'll push some value in that. Suppose first time I have to, uh, let's say first time I have to do 5 plus 4. Next time if I have to do 6 plus 10, I'll say 6 comma 10, 6 comma 10. So this is known as, whenever we are calling the function, this is known as arguments. Inside the function, there is something called arguments. We are passing the value. In general, if I have to write the same concept without function, what basically I'll do, I'll say let a equal to 5, let b equal to 4, let c equal to a plus b, console.log c. It will print 5 plus 4. Next time, if I have to write 6 plus 10, what I will say, I'll say let a equal to 6, let b equal to 10, let c equal to 6 plus 10, console.log 6 plus 10 equal to 16. Next time, if I have to do the same thing, what I will say, again, I'll say let a equal to 10, let b equal to 15, let c equal to a plus b, console.log c. Final value will be 15 plus 10, 25. So same repeated thing we are doing multiple times with different value. Only the change happening is different values. To avoid all this concept, so that we don't have to do the repetition every time, every now and then, we will use a function. We will add a function concept, and inside the function there will be an action. That action will be performed. Next time when we have to do that action, we will put that action, we will put that particular data as a arguments inside the function. We'll call the function. We'll understand what is function call. We'll call the function, we'll put the data as an argument, and then you don't have to perform a plus b and all these things. As soon as you say there is a function called add, which is holding the value 6 and 10, it will go and find the function with the name add, and whatever the action is present inside that function, that action will be executed. That's the definition of the function. That's the basic part of function. What is actually a function? So in general term, if I say instead of writing same line of code again and again, I will use a function, and inside the function there will be actions, so that I can reuse it function how many times I want inside a code. Okay, so this is fine. What is the function? It is, any question you have here? I'll write it down here. A function is a reusable block of code designed to perform a specific task. Okay, so this is about function. All right, now we'll write the syntax, but before that, what actually the use of function? If I don't use the function, still I'm able to perform this action. Without using the function, I am able to perform this addition action n number of time, not only one time, even n number of time, by writing the logic of a, let a equal to 5, b equal to 4, so on in the normal term. So what is the use? What is the use of function? Why do we need to use? We said that function is a reusable block of code designed to perform a specific task. Then what is the use? If I use that particular block of code, what will happen to my program? So basically, as soon as you use your as soon as you use the function block, there will be some of the benefit that you will see inside the code, that is better readability. You'll see going forward why I'm saying better readability. Then we'll have code reusability. You'll be able to use same block of code and number of time. You don't have to do the repetition. No more repetition. Easy to debug. Okay, so these are few of the important use of the function. This is why we use function. Better readability, in the sense, you'll see why I'm saying better readability. Code reusability, in the sense, same line of code, you don't have to write multiple times. You'll write one function. Inside that function, you'll do some action, and after the function action is completed, you will use the same function name elsewhere whenever you want to call that function. Whenever you want to do the same action, you'll use the function name, and you'll provide the arguments as this value. You'll see what is argument, what is parenthesis. Okay, all right. Now this is little bit about the what is function and what is the use of the function. A definition part of thing. If they ask you in the interview what is function, what is the use of function, you can tell this one. A function is a reusable block of code designed to perform a specific task. That's the first thing. And what is the use of function? If they ask, then you can say it's better readability, code reusability, no more repetition of same code, no more repetition of same code, easy to debug when bug is occurred. And what is the syntax? Everything that you write inside a programming language will have some syntax. Syntax is nothing but a blueprint kind of things. What actually you want to do, how the structure of that particular uh, concept will look like. So if I say loops concept, it will have some its own structure. If I say function, it will have its own structure. So syntax is nothing but a structure that particular concept is representing. So function, always remember, syntax for function start with function as a keyword. Function is a keyword. It should, whenever you are creating a function, it will start with function keyword, then function name. First there is a keyword, then there is a function name, and after function name there is a parameter. This is called parenthesis, and parenthesis will hold some parameter. Parameters are nothing but a value, whatever the value we have seen, add 6, 10. So that is nothing but a parameter, and then it will have its own body. This is the body of function. Everywhere you use the keyword, apart from let and constant, wherever you use the special keyword. What are the special keyword? If, for, do while, switch, function, constructor. So wherever you use the special keyword, that keyword will have its own structure, will have its own body. So this is a syntax where we'll say function followed by name of the function. Then there is a parenthesis which is holding some parameter, and then the body of the function. So I'll say body of the function, and then there will be a return value. Return value. This can be optional. But certain time return value is must. If you don't provide the return value, then you'll not be able to see the output in your inside your terminal. So we will see when it is optional, when it is not optional. But always remember, if you're writing any function, if you're creating a function, that function will definitely return some value. The function will return some value. Okay, so far is it clear? Hello? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this is a new topic. It will take some time to understand. That is why I started with the theoretical part, and slowly we'll move to the coding part. So uh, we know function is a block of code where some certain specific task will be performed, and that particular task you can use somewhere else. Multiple times you can call that function. So what is the syntax? Syntax is function followed by function name. There is a parameter which will be passed inside the parenthesis, and then there is a body of function, and there will be a return value. It will also return some function value. Okay, all right. Now let's see what are the different things we have. This is called parenthesis. Inside this, if I say there is a value called a comma b, a and b are parameters. Okay, and at last here you will see there will be a, you'll call the function name followed by, you'll pass the arguments. This is not the syntax, but this is where you will be calling the function name. So here you'll say a comma b, you'll say, so you'll say 4 comma 5. 4 and 5 are arguments. Okay, so always remember, function will have a parenthesis, which is nothing but this bracket. The parenthesis will hold a value called parameters. And whenever we are calling the function call, whenever we are doing the function call will pass the arguments. Arguments is nothing but the value that parameters is holding. In parameter, you'll not pass the value. You're passing the reference kind of things, passing the variable. And then inside the function call, you'll be passing the arguments, which is nothing but the actual value. So let's see. Let's write one particular program and see how it is working. What is actually a function? So I'll say function. I'll use the same syntax, whatever we are seeing here. Same syntax I'm using. And using this syntax, this particular syntax, we are creating a program. So what is the syntax? Syntax start with function, followed by name of the function. So name of the function can be anything. Suppose if I want to do some addition operation, then I'll say add is my function. And then I will pass the parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, I'll pass the parameters. And what are the parameters? If I have to do the addition operation, let me write it here. So far, whatever the topic we have seen, looping concept, switch, variables, nested loop, everything can be written using the function. Inside the for loop, we have seen there are certain codes. Like for example, if I have to print this value for n number of time, suppose if I have to print this value, I said this is something I have to print for n number of time. This one. Now I can use the function. And I can put this detail inside the function so that if I have to use this particular logic somewhere else, I do not have to write the logic again and again. I'll directly call the function and I'll be able to use the function. So here I'm saying that write the addition program using function. Now, if I have to write the addition program, we know that we should definitely have some two value. If we don't have two values, we will not be able to write the code. We'll not be able to do the addition because addition can only be done when we have two value. I cannot say add one, then there should be second value. When I have second value, then only I'll be able to add the two values and get the result. So for that, I'll take value a, comma, value b. You can take anything, x, comma, y, followed by the body of the function. See, error has gone. Why there was error earlier? Because it was saying that you are not following the correct structure. See, function add a, b, signature declaration can only be used in JavaScript file. So here there is a body of the function. We know so far we have seen that there is a keyword called function followed by name of the function, and then the function will store some parameters, and then it will start with the body. Now I said return value here. So inside the function, if you remember outside, if I have to do some addition operation, what I will say, I'll say let a equal to 5, let b equal to 10, let c equal to a plus b, and then I'll say console.log. See, this is how we'll write a, b, adding two value and then printing the value. So console.log is nothing but we are printing the value. Now remember, we wrote return value. Return is nothing but return is a kind of printing statement in function. In function, it is returning some value. Whatever the operation you'll be doing, that value will be returned, and so that you can use that value. So here, anyone join back? Okay. So here, what basically will happen is when we see return, we need to do a plus b, right? A plus b. This is the value we need to get. So we will say this function is returning the value a plus b. There is a plus b value, and then inside the function, you will perform the action, whatever the action you want to do, perform the action and return the value. Now assume that if I say from a list of the people that we have, if I say anyone add 2 plus 3. Now when I say add 2 plus 3, it means you are promising me, you are giving a promise that I will return some value. You will not say that this is not done. This cannot be done. It can be done. If I say add 2 plus 3, then what will happen? If I tell someone that add 2 plus 3, it means that I'm expecting something. And the next person whom I'm asking, they must know that they have to return something because I have asked some question and that question is returning some value. If I'm saying 2 plus 3, 2 plus 3 is returning some value, and that value definitely you have to give to someone. You cannot say that no, there is no such thing called 2 plus 3. There is something called 2 plus 3. So when there is something called 2 plus 3, you get the result value of that, which is 5. Now, when you get the result value of that, then you have promised it. As soon as you return the function here, it means that you are promising it that if you're using me as a function, I'm promising you that I will give you the value. Whatever the value you'll give, I'll give you the value. So if you take the example of Indian currency, take the example of currency, Indian currency. What if you open the currency, you'll see in the front or back there will be some different language. In the different language, some text will be written. It will say that's the text that RBI, Reserve Bank of India, is promising to the customer, promising to the user. So for example, if I have the money, 100 rupees notes with me, there will be something written like, I promise to pay the user so and so amount. The same statement will be written in different languages. It will be in Hindi, it will be in Telugu, it will be in Urdu, Tamil, different languages it will have. It will say that if you take the example of Hindi, so it will say, मैं धारक को 100 रुपया अदा करने का वचन देता हूँ. It means that it is promising you that this value, whatever the piece of code you have, is nothing but 100 rupees you have. Wherever you go throughout the country, this particular paper will have the value of 100 rupees and can be provided anywhere for your needs, for your purchases. And in return, the other person should accept that. If they are not able to accept that, then there will be a legal action against the person who is not accepting it. Function does the same thing. Whenever you use function, it will perform some action, and in return, it will give you the result. It definitely must give you some result. Function must give you some result. Then only you'll be able to see the actual use of function. So here we see there is a function, there is a name of the function, which is accepting 2 parameter. And then we are returning the value. And what we are returning? We need to return some value. So we are returning the a plus b value. We are returning the a plus b value. Now you might be thinking, okay, I created a function, there is a name of the function, I'm returning the value, but where is a and b value? I did not write anywhere. So that's where the function, calling the function, come into picture. So I can say console.log. We'll see different way of calling the function. Let's see first this one, and then you'll understand the other one also. I'll say console.log function name. You see there is a function name, and if I give in this way, if I write the add now, it will not return anything. Let's see what it is doing. If I say here node function.js, see it is saying function add, and I just said console.log add. What is add? Add is a function. This is a function add. So same thing is returning. But what is our expectation? It should return some value. It should return some addition value. The final result should be returned to me. Now, however you have written the add, always remember whenever you are calling a function, so let me write it in this way. Okay. So what basically we'll do, we'll take the calling of function. It's nothing but when you call the function, that particular piece of code will get started executing, and it will result some value. It will return some value. So I'll say calling the function is nothing but, I'll write it down, calling the function. Remember guys, if you're not calling the function, then your code will not be executed. Whatever happens inside the function block, that will not be printed, or that will not be called. There is no use of that. It will just uh, do some action, but there is no use of that because we are not calling it. So how the calling of function will happen? Calling of function will happen with the function name. I'll say add, and followed by, if you see here, see it is saying function add is having some value a and b, which is the arguments. You need to provide those. So the function name, function add a comma b, is having some arguments, which is a, b, and inside this add a comma b, at the time of calling, you need to provide the arguments value for a and b. Then only you will be able to proceed further. So if I say arguments value, it means the value of a and b. When you say this is parameter, if you see here, this is parameter and this is arguments. So parameter is nothing but you have initialized the value. If I say let c equal to a plus b. Now if I say a plus b, then there should be some value of a, there should be some value of b. Then only it will be able to perform the addition of action. If there is no value of a, no value of b, how will it do it? It will not do it. So that's what we are doing. We have initialized a comma b, and we are passing the value as an argument at the time of calling the function. So here I'll say 4, 5. Now this add function, which is holding a variable called a comma b as an argument. Now a value become 4 and b value become 5. So now also it will not print anything. If you see here, if I say node.js, it's not printing anything. Why? Because we are not asking it to print. We have just called the function. We have declared the function, we have performed the action, and we have called the function. Now I will store this called function somewhere, saying let result equal to this one. Now I'll say console.log result. See, now it is printing the value as 4 plus 5, 9. Now we understood this is how the function is written. This is how the function works. Now let's understand with the perspective of executor. Whenever the execution start, how it happens. So far, we have seen, if I go to for loop, we have seen that whenever the execution start, basically it will go to the line number 71, the first line from the beginning of the line. It will perform some action, and then it will do the repetition, whatever the things we have to do it. For example, if I go to if else statement, so we know that as soon as this particular program will start executing, here the executor will go at this place where it will see there is a value for color, and then it will compare the value, and it will keep on doing all these action one after the another. This is we have understood so far, right? In the same way, whenever there is a function written, here also we need to understand the way executor is executing this program. So how the executor is executing this program. Now, if I run this program, when we run this program, always remember inside the function, it will not start from the execution will not start from the line number 36. For function, this will not start from here. Because if I say there is a function add a comma b, if the execution start from here, it will say return a comma b. What is the return value should I return? It will not return any value because there is no return value. There is no value it has. So that is why remember that for function, execution start here. Whenever you have the function, as soon as the executor sees the function keyword, it will go to the return value. Wherever there is a calling the function is happening, the function is called, wherever the function is called, at that particular place, the executor will start executing. So it will come to this line number 40 initially. It will see there is a add 4, 5. Now, as soon as it sees the add 4, 5, it will understand add is a function. You can see there is a function add. So it will understand add is a function. It will scan the page and it will see where is the function declared with the name called add. It will see at line number 36, function is declared at add. Now the execution will start from here. First thing, the executor will go to the function called places, and from there, it will go back to the function name. So it will see there is a function with the keyword And then there is a name of the function, which is add, holding the argument as a comma b. Remember, going forward, I'll use this word arguments and parameters most of the time. So don't get confused. Even now, nowadays also I am getting confused because see, I said this is arguments, but this is parameter and this is argument. So over the period of time, you'll understand what it is. For just for understanding purpose, you can also understand in this way that function is holding the value, we're declaring the value variable, and arguments calling the function. Arguments is nothing but initializing the value. If you take the example of variable, what we used to do, we used to say let x, then x equal to 10. This is called initial declaration, declaring a variable, and this is called initializing the variable. This is the variable declared, and this the value is provided to the variable. Same way, here we are doing the declaration, and here we are providing the initialization. We are providing the value to the function. So now, as soon as the execution start, it will go to the line number 45. It will see add 4 comma 5. It means there is a function called add, which is having the arguments as 4 comma 5. Now it will go to the function name. It will see there is a function keyword followed by the name of function, and that name of the function is holding a value called a comma b as a parameter. As a parameter. Okay, all right. Then it will go inside the return function. It will go inside the block of function, and it will see there is a return a plus b. It means that it is promising me to return the value of addition value a plus b. So basically it is saying that perform the action of a plus b, and that value you return it as a result. Return the value as a result. Now after this one, it will see here in the line number 41 that let result equal to add a comma 4 comma 5. This add 4 comma 5 is nothing but calling the function, where I'm taking the function name same as it is, and whatever the parameters we have, I have passed as an argument. Because when I said 4 comma 5, it means that it should have some value. It is returning a plus b. It means I should have some value for a and b. So that value, I'll pass it as an argument at the time of calling the function, and then I will store that value inside the result variable, and I'll call it as a result. I can also write in this way. I'll just say console.log. Directly I'll say console.log. Add, which is function name, and it will accept some arguments. So I'll say 10 comma 20. This is an argument. Now if I print this value, it will have 9 plus 30. 9 and 30. 9 is for this one, add a comma b. 30 is for this one. So what we understand here, calling the function directly inside the console. Inside the console. Okay. Here what we did, we called the function. Function called, and value is stored inside the new variables called as result. Okay, this is what we did. We called the function, we passed the value, and that value is stored inside the result variable. Now we are trying to print the result variable. Here what we are doing, inside the console.log only, we are calling the function, which is add, and we are providing the value as 10 comma 20, and that is returning the value. The next time, suppose next time, if anywhere I have to use this addition function name, if I have to perform the addition value of 2, I don't have to write all this code again. I'll just use this particular add value again. Suppose next time if I come here and I say let second result equal to, for the first time we did 4 comma 5 addition. Now I'll do 20 comma 30. Second result equal to, I'll just call the function name, and I'll say 30 comma 20. A equal to 30, B equal to 20. And then I will say console.log. See, it will add the value as 30 comma 50. One time I have declared the function, and that same function I'm using it multiple times. After some time, if I have to use it again to find the value, I'll use it again. I'll just use the add as a function name, and I'll provide the to value. So that's more or less about the function. We'll see few more example before we go to the types of functions. So any question on this understanding of this one? What is the actual use? The actual use of function is nothing but it's a reusable block of code. Once you can create the code block, and that block will have some action, and you can use the block name. You can use that function name anywhere in the program. Anywhere in the program. If you can also use this in the another program when you inherit that, but that will not be seen inside the JavaScript, but that is the complex topic. We'll see that how that particular functionality is working inside the playwright, how to import this particular file in another file. So, so what basically will happen is if you have created a function called add in the function.js. So tomorrow in playwright, when you are creating one more page called suppose I'll say amazon.js. So inside the Amazon, if you want to perform some add action, then you'll not create again function. You'll just call this function. You'll just import this function inside your Amazon. And what will happen with that? Whatever the function you have, the method inside the function you have, everything is directly accessible inside the Amazon page. So there also you can say in this way, add 30,20, and this will give you the result. That is why it is always recommended to use the function, because it's a block of code which is the only purpose of the function is for the reusable things. Whatever you perform can be reused multiple times. So that's about one of the example we have seen. Let's take one more example and we see what is happening. So if I have to find the square root, okay, so what, first of all, if you get any kind of such kind of program, you need to understand what is square root. Square root is nothing but multiplication. If I have to say what is the square root of 4, it means 4 into 4. If I say what is the square root of 8, it means 8 into 8. If I say what is the square root of 12, I'll say 12 into 12. So if I have to find the square root, square, not square root, square of the number. So what we'll say, we'll double the number, not by addition, by multiplication. If I have to find the square of 4, 4 square, what will be the value? 4 into 4 is 16. 8 square is 64. 12 square is 144. Same way, we'll have the different squares value. So we will find this using the function. Normally also you can find, you can say let value equal to x, and then you'll say x equal to 15, and you can say square of x, or you can say x into x equal to, you'll store that x into x in some variable, which is resultant variable, and you'll call that, you'll print that particular result value. That's how you can do in the normal way. But inside the function, I'll say function square, and then here I will say the value. You know that square will always accept the arguments. Okay, going forward, you'll also see that whenever we are saying the square is in this one, so it is not mandatory to have the arguments. It can be empty also. Arguments can be empty, or arguments can have some value. So when it is empty, we'll see that as well in upcoming classes. And when it is not empty, we'll see how that is used. So if I say function as a square, and I'm taking the value of x, because we know that we have to perform the square root. So I'll say let function equal to x, and what it should do, if I have to perform the square root, then what basically I have to do, I have to perform the multiplication with the same number. So I will say x into x, right? And now we know that whenever you are using x into x inside the function, what it will do basically, it will promise something. And what if it promise, it will return some value. So that is what, if let's say if I don't return some value, I'll say here uh, console.log, I'll say square, and then I'll give the value as 5. See, undefined. Why it is undefined? It is doing the action. It is saying 5. Then it will go here. This value x will become 5. It will say x into x, which is 25. 5 into 5 is 25. But we are not returning the value. When it is not when the value is not returned, where it will do? It will not give anything. This is where the undefined operators come into picture. We have seen earlier there was an undefined and null data type. So this is where the undefined will happen. We have defined it. There is a 5. There is a square root of 5. But we are not returning anything. We are not returning any value here. So I'll say return. We know that function will always return some value. Now if I do this particular square root, it should print 25. See, 25 is printed. This is one way of printing the value. Second way, you can also do in this way. You can call the function and provide the arguments. Whatever the arguments will provide, store that arguments inside a variable and then print that particular variable. With that, you will be able to print the value. Now let's see one more example. So far, we have seen that it will return the value inside the function. Now, inside the function, you can also you can also print the value. It is not only for the return, you can do n number of things. Currently, we are understanding the structure, but when you will use in the real time inside the playwright, you'll be able to see what are the things we can do inside the function. So I'll say function uh, addition. We have seen. I'll take the value as a comma b. Okay. All right. Now here I will say let result value equal to a plus b. Then I'll say console.log result value. Okay. Now is this wrong or correct? This is also correct, because inside the function we can do n number of things. N number of action can be done inside the function. So if assume in this way that if you are inside your house and if you're in the office, will you behave in the same way? Will you be in the same dressing sense that you have inside the house and inside the office? No, it will be different. Now, if I say that however you are staying inside the office, however your dressing sense are there, however professional you are there inside the office, be in the same way inside the home, is it possible? You can do it for some time, but home is home. It is not the office. And inside the home, you can do a number of things, different things, which you cannot do inside the office. Inside the office, you can do some certain types of things which you will not be able to do inside your home. So whenever you go inside the function body, there is no limitation. You can do anything. Consider it as your home. You can do anything and everything can be done inside the function body. So that is what happening here. So I said let result value equal to a plus b. Earlier we were doing these particular things as a return. We were saying return equal to a plus b. Now directly we are storing inside a variable, saying let result value equal to a plus b. Console.log result value. I'm printing the value. Now what I will do, I'll call the function here. I'll say addition and as a fifth. Then I'll store this inside some let final output equal to this one. And then I'll say console.log final output. Now let's see what happened. When this particular function start executing, it will come to this particular page, addition of 25, 35. See, so it said for the first time the value is 60. For the first time, the value is 60. For the second time, it said undefined. So okay, can anyone guess what is the reason? Where is this value? What is the output coming from here? Okay, so if you see here the addition, whenever we are calling the function call is happening at the line number 62. So initially it will call the value. It will see there is a value a equal to 25, and then it will see the value b equal to 35. It will store the value as 60. It will store the value as 60, which will be printed. Okay, so all right. So there is an argument value which is 25 and 35. This is the value which is 25 and 35. Now here it is going inside the function. It is going inside the function and it is saying there is a value called 25 and 35. It is a value which is 25 and 35. Now inside the function, we know the concept of return. We know the concept of return. So always remember your function, whatever the function you're writing here, is only printing the value using console.log. It is only printing the value using console.log. It is not returning the value. Anything is not returned here. When anything is not returned, what will happen? Earlier we have seen it is returning some value. When it is returning some value, this value, that return value is coming to the line number 54 inside this particular square root, and you were able to see the console value. But here it is doing some action here, but it is not returning some value. So when it is not returning any value, do you think this particular output will get displayed anything? No, because as soon as we know the scope of the variable, next topic we have the scope of variable. Here if you see there is a block of code here, this particular block of code. Inside this block of code, there are some action happening. And what is the action? It is saying result value equal to a plus b. What is the value of a plus b? 25 and 35. The value of a plus b is 25 and 35. Now, this 25 and 35 is getting printed at the line number 60 inside the function. At the line number 60, it is printing the value of 25 plus 35, which is 60. Value is 60, which is getting printed. But this function is not returning anything. If it returns anything, then only you will be able to print this value. Suppose example, you go to the shopkeeper, you go to any nearby shop, and you give him the 100 rupees, and you bought some item. Assume the item is of 100 rupees only. The cost is 100 rupees. Do you think he'll return you something? Will not return you, because he'll say you gave me 100 rupees. Overall, the bill is 100 rupees. It's got managed. There's nothing. There is nothing. Everything is managed. So you cannot do anything. They will not return you any value. That is what happening here. There is a function called a comma b. It is result value is a plus b, and it is printing inside the function itself. It is not returning you anything. When it is not returning anything, if you write addition a comma b here, and if you put it inside the final output also, inside this variable, it will not give you the print value, because the print is already happening inside this particular function. And then this will say that undefined, because you're not returning anything. Where is this 25 and 35? Where is the value? It is inside the function, but inside the function you are doing the console.log, but you have not written anything. When you return anything, then only I'll be able to perform this action. So for that one, if I have to make it correctly, then I will say return result value. Now if you see, when I'm saying return the result value, it means when the execution start here, when the execution will start in this particular case, it will go to a comma b. It will take the value as 25 and 35. Then it will say a plus b, which is stored inside the result value. And then I am asking it to return the result value. Whatever the result value you have, return that value. And then that result value, I am printing it outside the function. So the best practice always is to print outside the function, not inside the function. You can print it inside the function also. No problem. We have seen how it works. In that case, you can just ignore this part. If you ignore this part, then this line 60 will be printed and you'll get the final output, because you're calling the function directly here. And then you're getting this one. So if I ignore this one, I can directly say this. I'll remove this particular part. I'll say addition, which is the function name, a comma b value, and I will say this one. Let's see what happened. See, it is printing the value 16. Why? Directly I'm calling the function here. Calling the function value is a comma b, 25 and 35. It will go inside the result value equal to a plus b. It will go inside the result value. It will say a plus b, and then console.log result value. It will print the value here only, and then nothing will happen outside, because outside we are not doing anything. We are not asking it to print something. We are not asking it to do any action there. It's just an addition, which is calling the function. And then when the calling of the function start here, it will go inside the block and it will perform the action. So one thing, remember this one, we have seen 3 different way here. Always remember, if you want to print the value, if you want to print the final value inside the function, then outside the function, you just have to call the function. If you want to print the value inside the function body, if you want to do the printing part, then finally at the last, you only have to call the function, and calling of the function is done in using the very simple way, that is function name followed by the arguments. Function name followed by arguments. When you give the function name and arguments, you are calling the function, and from there on the execution will start with the function name. It will go inside that. It will see there is a value called a comma b. Then it will store that action, whatever the action it is doing. In case it is doing a plus b, it will store it inside result value, and you will print that value inside the function. Done. That scope is up to function. If you think of printing outside the function and inside the function, then outside the function value will become undefined, because you are not returning any result value. Outside the function, you will be only able to print outside the function when you return some value. When you're returning, when function is returning some value, then only it will be able to print at the outside. If it is not returning the value, it will not be able to print anything outside. That is why we have seen there is a undefined logic. There is an undefined logic. Okay. So any questions so far? It will take some time, but understanding function will be very easy. When you'll understand the playwright, you will see it will be like most easiest thing. However, we have done so far a plus b addition operation. Same way you will be able to see this one. Okay, all right. So that's about the function part. What is this function block and all those things? We'll see scope of the function later tomorrow. But apart from this function, this is how the function structure look like. This is how you'll be writing inside the playwright. Everywhere you'll write in the same way. You'll say function login, and then you'll pass the value as username and password. Then here you'll do some check, validation check. You will say function payment, and then you'll pass the value as different types of payment that you want to use. So I'm just talking about the playwright perspective. Okay. So the next topic we have is types of function. I said there is a function, but function also have the different types. It is not only a single type of function. Function are of different types. So what are the different types of function? We'll see that. So the first one is called named function. It's nothing but function that was declared with its name. Function having its own name. This is the name. Addition function has the name called addition. This is called named function. Then we have anonymous function. Second one is anonymous function. It means function does not have any name. Third one is function expression. It's nothing but a function can have name or can be anonymous. So basically function expression is nothing but it can be the named function, it can be the anonymous function. It can be anything. It doesn't need to be a named, or it doesn't need to be a anonymous. So fourth one is arrow function. This is the most important function that we'll be using going forward inside our playwright. Every time we'll be using the arrow function. We will hardly use this kind of function. Probably named function, this kind of function we will use once in a while, but arrow function every time we'll be using inside a playwright. So what is arrow function? Shorter and modern way of writing the function in JavaScript post ES6 version. What is ES6? We have seen earlier that ES6 is nothing but it's the latest version of JavaScript. After ES6, things, many things are changed inside the JavaScript, and one among them is arrow function. That is why every modern application that you see, every modern application inside the organization, if you see, that will have a function that is written as the arrow function. Playwright is a modern application. It is not the old application. It's a modern application. And the Playwright as a modern application, you will see it is getting used every now and then as an arrow function. That is why I said, going forward, you will see everywhere, even every line of code that you write, every test case that you write inside the Playwright, that will have arrow function written there. Without arrow function, it will not work. So function expression, these are fine, good to have a knowledge, but will not be using exactly however it is here. But arrow function will be using going forward. Very easy topic, arrow function, not a big complex topic, but we'll be able to understand it. So let's see, we'll complete this 4 topic. This is very small topic. This is just a function differences. What are the different types of function? There is no question asked in this particular. There is no actual use inside the programming also. So when I say named function, is nothing but function having its own name. You see there is a function keyword. It has got the name addition. This is called as named function. When I say anonymous function, it is nothing but function does not have its name. Function does not have its name. So how we'll write in that case? We'll say function will have this value, and then it will have the body this way. But whenever you have the anonymous function, make sure that particular function is getting stored inside somewhere. So I'll say constant inside the variable constant. I'll say test. This is called anonymous function. Anonymous function. So here what is happening basically, there is a function keyword, but it does not have any name. Anonymous function is nothing but function does not have any name. It does not have any name. Do you see any name here? No. When there is a function which does not have any name, always remember this type of function will be stored inside a variable. Inside the variable, you have to store that value. So here there is a function which does not have any name. So where you will store that value, you will store inside a variable. So there is a variable here. Now I'll say something, probably inside the body, I'll say return, what I can say, hello testing. Okay. I'll say return hello testing. And here I'll say directly console.log test. And this is the function. Console.log test. Now let's execute this one. See, it is saying hello testing. Same thing, this is anonymous function. Function does not have any name. However, we have written the named function. Same way it is there. See, there is a function. There is a function a comma b. There is a function which does not have the name. We are not passing any argument here. And when we are not passing any argument, we are saying store this value inside the test. You can pass the argument as well. It will not make any differences. We are saying there's a test. Passing the argument, give a try from your side. You'll be able to understand what is happening. You need to do the trial and error method. You need to you need to play around this one to see what is happening. I have given the syntax here. I said this one. Now, next time, whenever you are writing this one, give some value here, saying 5,6, saying a comma b, x comma y in this way. And then you pass the value. You do some return here, x plus y, and then pass the value here directly, whatever you want to pass, and see how it is working. So constant test function, it does not have any name. It is called anonymous function. And again, inside the body of the function, we are doing the same action that we have done so far, returning some value, doing some addition operation, or doing some multiplication operation. And then finally, we are returning the console.log, this particular function. this particular variable. Now, if you see the differences here, what happens in the named function and anonymous function? Inside the named function, we were using the console.log using the name of the function. This is the name. This is the name of the function. Using that, we were using the function name. But in the anonymous function, we are using the variable name. Why? Because variable name, we are using the variable name to represent that this particular variable is storing the function value, because function does not have its own name. So we have given some test name, anonymous name, and this name is holding the function details, function related value. That is why whenever you are calling the function here, in case of anonymous function, we will be calling using the variable that is holding the function details. That's about the anonymous function. Nobody will ask you a question. Probably they might ask you what is anonymous function. They can consider the function which does not have its own name. Okay, that's about the anonymous function. Now we have function expression. A function expression can be a named function or can be an anonymous function. So in that case, what will happen? I'll say function. This is what it is. I took it as anonymous function, and I'll say here constant value check equal to this one. And just now I said we can, this is anonymous function because the function does not have name, and we can also pass the value as a comma b. I'll say x comma y, and then here I'll say return x plus 5, not return x plus 5, and in outside the function I'll say console.log value check, and here I'll provide the value. I'll say 6,7. It should return the value as 13. See, just now I said you to do the same thing, which is function expression. So function expression can be a named function or can be an anonymous function. If it is a named function, normally it will act as a normal function. This is called as a function expression. A function with the name is called as a function expression. Function without name is called as an anonymous function. Anonymous function expression. That's just a word expression. You're expressing that particular function here. Now, if I have to write the function expression by making sure that function does not have any name, but it is taking the argument. Earlier we have seen there is a function without argument, but there is a function with argument. So whenever there is a function with argument, we are storing that value. We are storing that particular value inside a variable, and we are passing that. We are returning the value. We are returning the operations action, and we are passing it inside the value console.log, which that we need to pass here. That's about the function expression. Now there is something called arrow function, which is the most important thing. Arrow function we will be using every time. I said earlier also we'll be using every now and then inside the playwright. Arrow function is nothing but it's a short form of actual function that you have written. If you see the function here, we said function addition a comma b, right? We said constant test function. We said constant value check equal to function x comma y. So arrow function is nothing but a short form of earlier function. We'll not be using the function. In place of function keyword, we'll be using the arrow. And how we'll write? So I'll say, suppose a comma b. I have already taken a. I'll say I comma j. And then in order to use the arrow function, you have to use this arrow symbol. So this is arrow function. This is nothing but arrow function. So, but as this function, we need to store somewhere value. So I'll say constant arrow value equal to this one. This is a variable where we are storing the arrow function. But in general, arrow function is nothing but this is how you represent the arrow function. There is a function parenthesis followed by arrow, and then you'll have the closing and body of the arrow function. This is how it is. Inside this particular things, you can do anything. You can say return I into j. Now how you'll do the return here? You'll say console.log. Okay, so arrow function does not have the name, so you need to store somewhere. So we will say let test value equal to arrow value having some value. I'll say 5, 7, 8. Now I'll say console.log test value. Now it should print 40 as an output. See, I can also write in this way. Here directly I can say console.log arrow value, and then here I'll pass the value as 9, 5. 45 and 40. So arrow function is very easy, and it is the shortest form of all the function we have seen so far. Why? Because we are not using any function name. There's no function name used. We are storing inside a variable, and this is how we declare the function. We just say there is a parenthesis which is holding some argument, and in place of function, as soon as you put the arrow operator here, it is considering it as a function only. So now if you see the differences, if I show you the difference here. Okay, so look at this line number 58, addition a comma b, and look at this particular value, arrow check. Even both are same. There is a parenthesis here. There is also a parenthesis. It is also holding some value. It is also holding some value. And then we are writing function and name of the function. We are writing function and name of the function. Rather than writing this function, we are using, rather than writing the name, this function keyword, we are using arrow symbol. Arrow symbol to represent the function. Arrow symbol is nothing but a function, arrow function. And then next line onwards, we are doing the same thing. Return I into j, close the braces, then print the value. So this is about the different types of function we have and how we can represent, how we can write the different functions using the, so how you can represent, how you can use the different function based on the naming convention, types of the function. Any question you have here? I know it will be blank for some time. Initially, it will be, you'll not be able to understand what is the function, but as soon as we start using this one in our real-time program, you'll be able to understand. But I believe whatever I have explained so far, you should be able to understand it. You should be able to understand what is function. Function is nothing but a reusable block of code designed to perform specific tasks and can be used multiple number of times. What is the use of function? That is again very simple topic. Then what are the different syntax for the normal function, and then what the function is doing. Whenever there is a function having some value, it is returning a value, and once it returns some value, we are storing that as a variable, and inside that variable we are trying to print it. Then we have seen different naming convention. What are the different types of function we have? Named, anonymous, function expression, and arrow function. And the same value we are checking here. What is the actual use of this one? Probably you'll not understand now. For now, just understand that there is a syntax. This is the syntax of the function, and this is how the function is used. This is how the function is getting executed. But once we start the playwright concept, you will be able to understand how the function is actually getting used inside the playwright. And not only that, you will, whenever you will start the framework inside the playwright, we have some time for that. So inside the framework, you will also be able to see how this particular function, this is a function, this is a method. Inside the function, there are different values. There's an add function. So this, how can I use this inside some third party or third function, third file? Currently, I'm in the function.js. I can go inside the nested for loop.js and I can use this add as a function. Sorry, guys. Okay. So that's more or less about the function part. We'll see more about the function tomorrow. We have not many things inside the function to be covered. So the first basic part we have covered so far, and tomorrow we'll understand about the what is variable scope, We have seen arrow function, but we'll see in detail, more detail about the arrow function. And then we'll move forward with the class, object, and other things. Inside function, there is not much important thing. You just have to understand what is function, how we are writing the function, and what is the actual use of function, so that you can use these details inside your varied concept. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would highly urge you people to take a look at any of the tutorial that it is present on the online for the function related details, so that whatever the question you have, you will be able to get it clarified. You will see inside the whatever I explained, same thing will be there inside the different tutorials also. It will have the same thing, but you should be able to read it one more time. Or you can just watch the video one more time and you'll be able to see it. The video will be uploaded to your Google Drive. Okay. We will see few more topics in upcoming classes. What is function hosting? What is function scope? What is variable scope? We'll see all these things, because function hosting is something that can be asked inside the interview. They might ask you a question. So hosting is nothing but whatever the return we have done here. Where is that? Yeah, we are calling the function here. The same thing, this function calling we'll be doing right above the function creation. Here we'll do the function calling here. So that is nothing but hosting. Hosting is nothing but you are trying to call the function before declaring the function. We'll see in that details in the more detail going forward. But for now, do you have any question? It is a new topic. I understand it will take some time, but don't worry, you will understand it very well. End of the course, if you're not able to understand this one, you can tell me that I did not understood. But for now, just understand that there is a function which is represented in this particular format. All right. So I'm not really sure that if people understood completely, or even the 50% is fine. I hope 50% you people understood, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Gaurav,
Yes.
Sanjeev, Latashri.
Yeah, Robin,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understood
Understood.
everything.
Okay. All right. Then thanks everyone. Thanks for the session today. We will join tomorrow at the same time.